welcome back into my YouTube channel. And this is the step-by-step tutorial on how to create my latest design team project for Country Craft Creations. I made a 7x9 folio featuring Authentique's Quest paper collection, and it's a great vintage vintagey, travel-y, just all around awesome paper collection. So if you want to see the walkthrough, there is a video on my channel for the project walkthrough. So let's just jump into making the folio. We're going to start off with making the covers, or making the cover, sorry. All right, so what you see here is, sorry, I can't fit it all on the screen. I have 3 pieces of, I chose to use the artisan cardstock that you can get in Country Craft Creations. It's white, and it's a linen cardstock. So what I did was cut 2 pieces of 12 by 12 down to 11 by 12. So there's 1, 2, and then I have a third little piece on the end that's 3 by 12. Actually, this should be, no, 3 by 11, sorry. This third piece is 3 by 11. Okay, and then what I did was put a piece of 1/4-inch score tape on the very edge of the first piece, and then just laid the second piece on top of that. If you look closely, so you can see the seam right there. Then I did the same over on this side, and that's it's all gonna kind of blend together and get covered over by the pattern paper. So, you know, we shouldn't have any issues. So this is going to be the cardstock that we're going to use to wrap our chipboard. Okay, so you're going to need a few chipboard pieces. Again, I mentioned that the folio is 7 inches tall by 7 inches wide by 9 inches tall. So you are going to want to take 3 pieces. I do a nice medium to heavyweight chipboard. Anything thinner will probably get kind of wrinkly, but this is what I like to use. It's 7 by 9. Okay, so you're going to want 2 of those. Then you're going to also want 2 spines that are 2 spine pieces, sorry, that are 1.5 by 9. And then that rightmost flap is 5 inches by 9 inches. Okay, so what I do is to figure out like where do all these pieces go. So I'm going to start off over here on our left. We're going to take the first piece of 7 by 9 and put a number 1 on it. So that is going to come over about 1 inch away from the edge of your cardstock and about 1 inch up from the bottom. I like to actually leave 1 inch. Actually, this is 3/4 of an inch. But I would recommend, if you're just starting off, I would recommend using 1 inch. Just till you get comfortable with it. I mean, I've even gone down as just 1/2 of an inch. But once you get comfortable with wrapping your cardstock, you'll be just fine. So we have 1 piece of 7 by 9, labeled that as number 1 because it's in space number 1. Okay. So then what comes next is a spine. So you're going to want to take 1 of your spine pieces, call it number 2, and then just place that, oh no, maybe 1/8 of an inch, a little more than 1/8 of an inch away. All right. Next piece is another 7 by 9. This is the back cover. Mark that as number 3. And again, you're not gluing anything down yet. You're just laying this out. Okay, so you can see 1, 2, and 3. Then take another spine piece. Mark it as number 4. And that gets placed right next to number 3. And then your final piece is your little 5 by 9. You can mark that as number 5, and that goes right there. You can see there's quite an extra, no, you can't see, sorry. There's an extra, I didn't need quite this much. So I'm gonna end up cutting it off, most of this 3 by 11 piece off, but you know, we'll see how much we have left after I stick it all down. All right, so we're going to start with chipboard piece number 1. Now this is where you can do whatever you like best. Some people like to use glue. I like to use score tape on my covers. This was from the 8.5 by 11 score tape sheet, and these are fantastic. So it makes wrapping your covers super, super easy. And I don't know if Tammy has them in stock, but I know she carries them in her store. So I actually pieced a few pieces together. So I'm going to just take these off. Take off the backing again, or you can just apply your adhesive. Another tip is, now I mentioned you want to come in about 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch. I put this in my scoreboard and score down. I would score it down at 1 inch on the left hand side. That just helps you guide where to place your first cover, okay? And also too, I scored up 1 inch from the bottom. So you can, I don't know if you can see it there. It's really dark here. Oh, it's weird. Okay, but anyway, you can see where my 2 score lines intersect. I'm going to put the bottom-most corner of my chipboard right there at that intersection. And that just helps me keep everything as straight as possible. And I'm going to just stick it down. Just kind of help it. I will turn it over in the end and excuse me, and burnish it even better. Okay, so that's piece number 1. I'm sorry, I need to grab some more score tape. If you have 1/4 inch score tape, this is where it's very, very helpful. Whoops, took the wrong one. Yikes. So 1/4 inch score tape, there's other stuff called sticky tape, there's, you know, so many different types. I prefer the score tape. I like the 1/4 inch because then I know that I'm giving enough space to give enough space in between the 2 pieces of chipboard so that it doesn't crack. Okay, so then I just take it and just run it right up against the side of my cover. Instant measurement, right? It's fantastic. So now we're going to take our first spine piece, which is number 2. And then again, you can put your favorite adhesive on. Mine, I have score tape because it's nice and super strong on the covers. And then what I do, I just take, again, trying to keep the bottom lined up. Try to line that up right next to that piece of score tape. So then you have an instant 1/4 of an inch. Okay? And we're going to do that again. So if you are experienced with making covers and wrapping covers, you can feel free to just go ahead and skip forward to the next video with the page construction. But I like to at least offer a video on how to construct the covers and wrap the chipboard because not everybody is experienced. All right, so we have chipboard number 3, which is 7 by 9. You add your favorite adhesive. Then we're just going to put that right next to that last piece of score tape we put down. And then just set it down. Help it get some stick. All right, let's move on to piece number 4, which is spine number 2. Okay, if you remember, it's 1.5 by 9. Remove your backing or go ahead and add your favorite adhesives. Okay, that one I cut a little long, so I'm just kind of wrapping it back on itself. See if you can kind of see it right there. I cut that a little too wide. Go ahead and line that up right next to the piece of score tape that we just put down. All right, so that's number 4. Hang in there, we just have one more to go. And as always, I recommend that you watch the video all the way through. You know, sometimes I'm a little too chatty, but you might want to watch the video all the way through before you start your project because, you know, I'm a little less than perfect. So I do make mistakes at times. I'd hate for you to follow along with me or work along with me and then I realize that my measurement was wrong or something. So, all right, so then now we have piece number 5. And that should be 5 inches by 9 inches. And we are going to just lay that right, again, trying to keep the bottom lined up and the top lined up. All right. So you see how I have a little bit of overhang here. Okay, so you should have something that looks something like this. Okay, now, mind you, you do not have to wrap the pattern paper, the cardstock around your chipboard. You can just cut it off right here, or you can just cover the front and the back of each piece. Totally up to you. I find this is the easiest way, this is the cleanest way, and it just works for me. So I'm going to turn this over, as I mentioned, and I'm going to give it all a good burnish with my bone folder. This cardstock, this artisan cardstock, is incredible. I'm sure most of you have used it by now. It's so silky and smooth. Can you hear it? You can like feel the linen texture. I mean, it's incredible. It's my all-time favorite. All right, so we gave that a really nice burnish. What we're going to do next, what I'm going to do next is put some score tape around the perimeter, all around the perimeter, but actually what I want to do is cut this extra piece off. So I'm going to put a mat underneath here. And I'm going to take my ruler. You may witness me mess this entire thing up, which I hope I do not do. Alright, so I'm going to use my Tim Holtz ruler and just line up here so that I have 1 inch overhang. And where is my knife? Grab my craft knife and just cut it off. Oh, no, I didn't go through. Uh-oh. Okay, see? You're witnessing me screw it up. I told you. Let's try it one more time. There it goes. Okay. Jeez Louise. Alright, so I have just that little 1 inch piece of overhang there. So I could wrap it around my chipboard. Alright. Alright, so you're going to grab your score tape. If you're using score tape, and just go ahead and put it around the perimeter. I know this is super boring to watch. Okay, maybe I'll add some music in here. I'm really trying to work on editing. Not being very successful, but I'm trying. I'm learning. Alright, one more. Okay, and then next, what I like to do is also Again, you can use your wet glue, but you'll have to do, one side at a time. What I also like to do is put score tape along the edge and the perimeter of the chipboard. But before you do that, if you use score tape as your spacer, go ahead and remove that now. Remove the backing. Ask me why I learned that you need to do this. I've done it so many times where I cover it up and I just forget about the tape. All right, and then I will show you. Oops. So I just kind of like to go around the perimeter like this, because once we fold this paper up, so you'll have the paper will grab, the score tape will grab onto the paper here, and then it'll also stick right here. So you'll have a nice, a good stick around the chipboard. And then this one. And then on this side. Okay. Okay, if I haven't said already, this entire project, I used 2 pieces of 12 by 12 medium weight chipboard to cut all this. And I believe I used in total 12 pieces of cardstock. I believe that I had, if there's 25 in a package, I opened a new package and I think I have 13 left. So you're going to need just about 12 pages. So I would, but that does not include the tags that are inside the book. So I will have a final count whenever this video goes up. Okay, so what we want to do right here is angle the corners or miter each corner. You just want to come up to the edge of your chipboard and just leave a little space because we're going to actually wrap that around. That's how I like to do it. You can also cut an L shape there so that your wrapping is square. But this is the way I always do it. This is how I learned, and I'm a creature of habit. Okay. Now we're going to do the other corner. And most of this gets covered up with pattern paper anyway. But the goal here is to leave at least enough cardstock to cover the very tippy tops of your chipboard. So you see that ugly gray brown that's there? You just want to cover that as best you can. Oops, and I'm upside down. Okay. All right, so then I just start off just removing all this crazy backer to the score tape. Okay, so at this point, if you're not using score tape and you're using wet glue, you can just go ahead and miter your corners first before you put down the glue, obviously. I'll just make it a little cleaner for you. And I suggest you just start with one side at a time. All right, and then what I like to do, so you can see I took off all the backing paper, I like to start on the long side. So I'm going to use my desk as a way to kind of start training the paper. So you can see I'm kind of lifting it up. Just start training the paper. I'm going to turn mine upside down so I can work this way. And just like start to give it a little nudge. Let it know you're going to go ahead and wrap it. You can use your bone folder. Just be careful you don't poke through the paper. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead. I actually like to start in the middle. I'm going to just pull that paper down and have it stick. And tell it who's boss. Alright, give it a good burnish. I like to come to this side, edge. Give it a good burnish. You can see it's all wrapped nice and flat. Okay, and then I like to do the opposite side. So I'm going to take that, again, using my tabletop or my desktop, just start to show that which way to bend. Okay, let's go back this way. Right. Then we're going to go ahead and just fold it over. You can hear it catching onto this floor tape. Try to keep it as flat. Oops, see, I've got a little wrinkle right there, which again is okay because it's going to get covered with pattern paper. Just make sure all of it sticks down really nice and well. Okay, so then what I like to do, here's the edge, just take my bone folder, just run it around along the top. You can see here, and I'm just flattening that out along the chipboard, the top of the chipboard. I'm going to flip it over, do the same thing on this side. Okay, you can see it's all nice and flat. Alright, so then I'm over here on the right hand side. I'm going to do the same on the two shorter sides. Just start to train it, which way it's going to go. Okay, and this is where it was important when you miter your corners. You can see I have that little bit right there. So you have that little hangover. Just want to kind of scooch that in with your fingernail, and that will actually cover that ugly corner I was showing you earlier. Okay, and then you'll just take your pattern paper, just keep giving it a little bit of encouragement, and then stick it down so that you have a nice clean corner. Okay? Beautiful. Nothing overhangs. Let's do that one more time. Okay, we are going to push that little edge in and oops. Okay. Then go ahead and start training the paper where it's going to go. This one was a little tougher for me. Don't know why. But again, you have a nice clean corner. Okay? So let me turn that back around so it's facing the right way. So your next step would be to go ahead and if you're going to cover this with pattern paper, I tend to do it with the same base color cardstock, but I think this time, yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. But what you can do is you can cover this with your pattern paper if you want, or a different color cardstock. I of course did not cut my cardstock, so I will be right back. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and add the solid cardstock onto the inside of our covers. But you can see, you're probably like, what did you, crazy lady, what did you do? I went ahead and added a bunch of score tape to the cover so that it really holds the pattern paper down. I tried to concentrate a lot. This is the spine piece on the right. This one is the spine piece on the left. Just wanted to concentrate because That's going to take a lot of abuse by flipping the pages. So wanted to make sure that there's good adhesive there. So what I did was I took 2 more sheets of my 12 by 12 cardstock. I cut the left page down to 8 7/8 by 11, and the right side is 8 7/8 by 12. I adhered them together with a 1/4 inch piece of score tape. You can see the seam right there. Then I just added some score tape around the perimeter to help me stick it down. So what I'm going to do first, and you can use wet glue, but just for speed, I am using score tape plus score tape. I think I mentioned earlier, I prefer. It just makes everything so much easier and quicker on videos. The only drawback to score tape is you find you'll have a mountain of these adhesive backer paper is everywhere. I probably fill up a kitchen-sized trash bag every month with this stuff. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll try to keep track of it. Oh, it'll be everywhere. So, 1 more piece. Okay. So look at that. That's just like half of what I just did. So, now we have our cardstock. I'm just going to remove the backer from that and the adhesive. Okay. So then what I want to do is I cut it just so that I have just a little bit. I'm going to stand up for this one. So just to have just a little bit of a border showing. And I just try to do it really slowly so that it doesn't get crooked. And of course it's going to get crooked because it's me. Yeah. Come on. Don't do it. Ah! Crap. Yep. I got crooked. It went rogue. But that's okay. I'll save it. Okay. Just stick it down. I'm going to go ahead. You can see where I got off track right there. See, it happens to the best of us. So I'm going to actually take some scissors and just do my best to try to straighten that out. Do not try this at home. I do not recommend it. Okay, it's going to get covered with pattern paper anyway, so I will be able to fix it or hide it. There are no mistakes, right? They're all just crafting opportunities. Yeah, I don't believe it either, but okay. So now we have our cover. We wrapped our chipboard. Okay, so now what we want to do is just kind of come in here. You can feel where your first spine is. See, if you find it, just give this side a little, lift it up just a little bit. You can see right here, it's starting to define where the first side of the spine is, and just take your bone folder or the end of a pen cap or something and just help it. What we're trying to do here is to push that cardstock on the top into that score tape that's on the bottom, if that makes sense to you. So you see? Beautiful. And just work the paper. Don't push too hard, because last thing you want to do is push the end of your bone folder or whatever you're using through the cardstock and make a hole. So, all right, so then we're going to feel where's the next side of the spine. Just kind of give it a little nudge. You can see it naturally shows you where it is. And then just take your bone folder as you slightly pull up from on the left-hand side. Just to help that. And if you're using artisan cardstock, you're not going to have any issues with any cracking. It looks beautiful. It feels nice and silky smooth. Okay. And then go ahead and just work that in there so that the cardstock touches the paper. Touches the score tape. And look how nice that looks. It is very defined. Very, very nice. All right, so we're just going to do the same thing over on this side, because if you remember, there's a second spine over here. So you can just kind of lift up on the short flap that's on the right. And let's get that started. And I am right-handed, so I cannot use my bone folder in my left hand to save my life. Okay. Beautiful. Now let's lift up a little further to find the next section. Okay. Just make sure, I don't know if I said this, but once you put your cardstock down, make sure you give it a good burnish. I don't know if you can hear that little popping, but mine obviously was not, I didn't burnish it, so it wasn't grabbing the score tape. Now I'm good. So take your time with this part. These are the things where you can tell the difference between a well-made project and one that was rushed. Okay, so then that is going to go like that, and you have your perfect cover, which of course you have to work it a little bit. So there's your cover. All right, so you have a choice whether you want to use some seam binding, attach some here and maybe underneath on the back, and you can tie a seam binding, have a seam binding closure. You can, what I'm thinking I might do, sorry, I just had a thought, is use one of the 3x4 cut apart, and you could put it on like a 2 or 3 inch, a 2-inch closure, and have it magnet and have it stick to the front cover, so that could be your closure. That would be super cute. Like I said, you could put magnets here and close it. You can, just use a regular ribbon. You can use some stretchy elastic. There's so many choices for a closure. And again, this is going to depend on what the theme of your book is, and what style are you going for. I think I might use, I have some old Tim Holtz buckles. I might use a buckle, like a belt, and then have it, oh, what a good idea. But anyway, okay, so that is the cover, and wrapping the cover, and wrapping the chipboard, and making your covers or the base of our book. So thanks very much, and I will see you in the next video.